Live from the 607, it is the Ocho Duro Parlay Hour, where we're talking sports locally and nationally. Why don't you join in the conversation with the hashtag ODPH? Here we go. And welcome back for another edition of the Ocho Duro Parlay Hour. I am your host, Ken M. Sitting across from me this week, holding down the soundboard yet again, it's the intern himself, Padawan J.
You know, I heard a rumor, saw something come across Twitter. JR got a second look at being a Mets starter, so there's hope yet.
We're trying to track this down. JR has been radio silent ever since Harvey got traded. He has now gone into like this Rocky-esque training program to get his fastball.
I'll say if you're in the 607 area, you might hear some music from Rocky. I've heard some rumblings.
I don't know. Like I said, we've heard something. He's gone into this like Rocky workout. He's trying to get a tryout. We heard that he got brought back for a second day. I don't know what exactly it's for, but fear not, folks. We have brought back a panel favorite to the show. You read his blog every week, every day. I'm not sure how many times you do, but we thank you for reading it on the ODPH website, OchoDuroParlayHour.com. It's rolling the dice's own Daniel John.
I appreciate people reading the blog. It's always a good thing. Good to have me back, guys. I appreciate it. Should we worry that JR is not chasing Tebow around?
No, because last I heard he was in Florida. He was not here in Binghamton.
Okay.
So we're trying to track down hashtag ODPH if you can find the Sound Guy Galore JR and maybe have some photo proof.
He's almost like Where's Waldo?
It kind of is because, like I said, he was so motivated to get his arm ready. And he's like, I got to save this franchise.
I heard he recreated the scene. I really do. Heard he recreated the scene from The Rookie where Dennis Quaid's like standing by the radar gun or whatever it is, throwing the ball, just trying to see how fast he's throwing. I heard Royce is doing the same thing.
Yeah, we're trying to track this down. So if anybody can help us out, hashtag ODPH. We definitely want to hear about this.
Nothing would surprise me with him.
Absolutely. Shout out to JR. And, of course, shout out to Coach Duffy, too, who couldn't make it in this week. But the biggest story of the week is not JR. Dare I say it's the NBA Finals for the conferences?
Yeah. Ooh, crazy games.
And going into, as we're taping on Tuesday, last night kicked off the Western Conference Final, and dare I say Golden State made a statement and then some.
It's like Draymond Green made a statement 1 minute into the game.
1 minute in the game, he gets the technical, and
not surprising.
James Harden came in, he lit it up for like the first 2 minutes of the game, 9 points. And then just Golden State went Golden State.
I was on Twitter over the weekend, and I have a friend of mine who used to be an NFL scout, and he lives in the Bay Area, and he's a big Warriors fan. And him and I were chit-chatting, and he said to me, he goes, and we both agreed. I go, this goes 5 games, I'll be surprised. I mean, I'm that strong about Golden State. I've been saying it for a while. As a Phoenix Suns fan who had Mike D'Antoni as their coach for a long time, you can have the best record. It's great. Regular season award. There's nothing to be ashamed of. But this team still doesn't play any defense. It reminds me a lot of those Suns teams. They shoot threes. It looks great. But then when you play a team that's going to punch you in the mouth, it changes real quick. The Suns had the kryptonite with the Spurs. The Warriors are the Rockets' kryptonite. And Draymond Green, people think that wasn't, that was planned.
He definitely wanted to get in Harden's head early.
Absolutely.
And of course, if you take Harden out, not saying that he was trying to injure him, because I definitely don't think that.
No.
But if he wanted to establish the physical style, he did a great job doing it, because the minute that happened, that arena got lit up, Harden got a little more motivated. But then Golden State kind of calmed down and went back to basics.
I almost had a sneaking suspicion that it was planned, simply because if you go back into the tape and look at Draymond Green's past instances where he gets a technical foul, he loses his mind freaking out. And in this case, if I remember, he cracked a smile.
No, if you, like with him, he's got 2 known areas he goes to. He likes to, for big guys, he likes to go low. Yep. And for guards, he likes to go high when he's going to take his cheap shot. And he's a dirty player. He's a Bill Laimbeer type of guy. I'm not a big Draymond Green fan, but in a way, it's genius with what he does, because he'll get in your head. And that's the whole thing he did last night. And it didn't really work with Harden. Harden went off.
It's like Harden still scored like 41 points.
Well, Harden did everything he could by himself, but like I said, we talked about this on last week's podcast. If the role players don't step up, it's going to be a short series.
If the role players don't move from where they're supposed to be standing in the plays, they won't.
Well, here's the thing. It looks great. I mean, you shoot all these threes. That's great. Awesome. And they don't go in. Golden State beats you with jump shots. People think this team shoots a ton of threes. They really don't. They shoot more medium range jump shots. They like to get to the rim.
Yeah.
Houston relies on threes. They have to hit threes. And if you watch that game last night, Houston honestly couldn't really play much better of an offensive series. You got 64 points out of Paul and Harden. Steph Curry didn't play well. Okay?
He had an off
Defensively,
night.
I mean, that's probably about as good defensively as Houston's going to play, and they still got rolled.
The thing of it is you go back and you watch the tape from that game, you look at how many instances there are where like James Harden's doing James Harden things on the offensive end of the court, and how many of the other 4 players on the Houston end of the ball are just standing there.
Yeah,
They're not like, I get their plays, they're supposed to be designed, but at some point you got to go a little backyard basketball playing and kind of try to create some things to get some shots open. They're just standing there.
Nobody wants to hear this, and nobody's going to probably agree with me, but Harden's basically the same guy as Westbrook. He's just a little bit more talented. He's the same guy. He's a better shooter, but he's the same guy. Like, he's the same type of player.
And the other thing you keep hearing is how his play style is high energy, and there's a lot of questions. Even again this year, can he keep it up, or are we going to see a repeat of last year where you're going to get to the end of the series, whatever game it is, and people are going to be asking, where'd James Harden go?
Well, I think he's trying to do so much by himself that, I mean, like you said, in comparison to Westbrook, because Westbrook does take on a lot of challenges by himself. But I'm looking at this game last night and saying they came out so hot, and they were hanging with Golden State right up to the first half. They did. But Steve Kerr did a great job with adjustments.
Oh, yeah.
And once they kind of got into a good rhythm, KD took over. He looked lights out. I mean, obviously, when Curry started off slow, he stepped in the challenge. And obviously, when you start putting more pressure on Durant, I mean, it's the one thing about Golden State. They have 4 All-Stars on their team,
right?
Where Houston has 2, and then they have role players.
And the other thing with Golden State is you look at Golden State, one player, Curry, Thompson, Durant, they're not afraid to pass up the ball if they don't have something and one of the other guys is hot. They're not, hey, I got to get my points. I got to look flashy. I got to get my highlight on SportsCenter. They're, hey, if I'm Klay Thompson, I'm going, hey, you know what? Durant's got a hot hand tonight. I'm feeding him the ball.
Right.
If Durant, if Ken's, Durant and you're Curry, hey, Curry's got the hot hand. I'm passing him the ball. They're not afraid to do it.
Right.
No, they play very selfishly. And they all know their roles on the team, and that's why they work so well together. I mean, that's why you have to tip the cap to them, because they know how to handle this. They weren't shaken up when Houston jumped out early.
Nope.
They were very calm, and even Draymond, who was trying to establish his physical play as he does, and like I say, he does antagonize the other team very well. He is that guy. He'll hit him high, he'll hit him low, but he'll get in their heads, and that's the major thing he tries to do.
He's the Rodman of this era.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's the best analogy.
And that's the thing you see across multiple playoffs in multiple years. You see, while you may have a sharpshooter and a playmaker and a guy who does acrobatic stuff, you have a guy who's not afraid to get down low, bump around, and throw some bows.
And he's not that big. I mean, he's only 6'7" on a good day. I mean, he's not a big dude. I mean, he's big, but he's not this tall 6'9", 6'10" guy. The thing that's for Golden State, when they go into a series, and I didn't buy into this whole they're the 2 seed. They don't care. They can be the 8 seed. They don't care. They've got 4 superstars. So 2 of these guys can have off nights and they could still win because and the other thing they don't talk about, the Looney kid's good off the bench.
Mm-hmm.
They've got other pieces. It's not like it's just those 4. And the thing that nobody talks about, and I don't think Steve Kerr gets enough credit. I'm a huge Steve Kerr guy. I always have been. I wish he was still the Suns general manager, but that's besides the point. But he is such a good coach at managing egos. He's a lot like Phil Jackson was. Phil Jackson wasn't a great strategic coach. He was just great at managing egos and understanding, all right, how do I get the most out of this guy? How do I get the most out of this guy? How do I get Shaq and Kobe to play together? How do I get Scotty and Michael to play together?
Oh, yeah.
And Steve played on those teams in Chicago, so he knows.
He was there.
He played under Popovich. He's learned from 2 of the best coaches of NBA history, and he understands, it's not about me. It's about putting these guys in the best situation, and he's very good at doing that.
Yeah, if I had to learn how to coach an NBA team from one coach, Jackson and Popovich are top of the list.
Oh, absolutely. They're right up there.
Yeah, you can't take that away from him. And like I said, Kerr knows what they were doing, and especially when they came out that second half, they looked like a different team. And when they went on that 9-0 run late in the third, that's when the tempo changed, and that's when everything did, because Harden, I don't want to say he started looking tired, but obviously he was putting in so much work in the first half, he just started to wear down. It happens.
Everything he does is high effort. If you see him, anytime he tries to take somebody off the dribble, everything is high effort with him. It's all, it's shake and bake. It's everything he does is he tries to ISO so much, and it's just high energy. Eventually, that's going to wear you out. Whereas if you're and he's a really good passer. I'm not saying I wasn't taking a shot at him earlier when I was comparing to Westbrook. I'd rather have Harden than Westbrook, but they're very similar type of players. They're do it all, and sometimes it's hard to rely on somebody else. Chris Paul's no slouch. I mean, he's one of the better point guards in NBA history, in my opinion. Great player, but when you're going up against 4 superstars and you only have 2, and Clint Capella's a nice player, but he's not on that level yet.
No, he needed to step up. I mean, not saying he can't, but obviously
he's not that guy yet.
But he's not that guy yet.
Right.
And I think that's exactly right on the point. They need somebody to step up and just take some of the pressure off. I'm not saying you're going to shut them down, because you're not going to shut down Golden State. But if you can slow it down where you can keep up with them and then maybe get a basket here where they don't get one there, that's the way you win them.
You know Chris Paul's going to score. You know James Harden's going to score. But it's like we've said, the role players need to step up. I mean, I'm looking at the box score last night. Trevor Ariza, 23 minutes, 8 points. Capella, 35 minutes, 1 point.
He's not a scorer, though. He's more of a rim protector, rebound, block shots. They need Gordon and Anderson are the 2 guys that have to score on for them. Those are the 2. Ariza's big too, but those are the 2 other guys.
Just as a collective whole, their role players need to find the basket.
I said this Saturday, and it was kind of unpopular, but if they don't win, if Houston doesn't win one of these 2 games, they're getting swept.
Oh,
I'm not writing them off yet.
I wrote them off before the series started.
I think Golden State is going to win. I think Golden State's going to win. I'm not ready to say it's a sweep. I'll give it one more game. If you have another game like this most recent one, sweep.
The only way I'll say if they don't win game 2, they're such a good 3-point shooting team. I could see them winning a game where they just hit a ton of threes. I think the max this goes is 5 games. And I thought that before yesterday happened. But yesterday was, for me, an exclamation point because they played so well offensively. They got so much out of Harden and Paul. You can't expect Harden to go for 41 every night. And you can't expect him and Paul combined for 64 points. You better win that game.
Yeah, you have to. I mean, I took Houston. I'm just rooting for the underdog in this series, but I said it was good. It was going to go 7. It was going to be really high scoring. I'm not going to jump off the ship because I want to stand by my word, but I will be the first one to tell you I was wrong if Golden State wins this in 4. I'll be the first one to say that.
I want Houston to win. I want the record to show that because I can't stand this Golden State team, but they're really good.
They're good. They're fun to watch, but at the same token, I don't want to see Golden State Cleveland for like the 3rd year in a row.
I would if Cleveland could find a miracle on ice to win with.
We're going to talk about that in the next segment, but to close out this one, though, I do want Houston to win, but I agree with you. If the Houston team that showed up last night shows up again for Game 2, and they get down 0-2 heading to Golden State, this is going to be a very short series because Houston needs to find a way to adjust. Now, are they going to find it in 48 hours? I don't know. That is something that is going to be the biggest X factor of this next game because they need more production out of Gordon and Ariza. That is a must. They need to definitely have a major impact on the game. Paul has to play out of his mind, and Harden, I don't know what else he can do that he hasn't already done in this series.
Can Mike D'Antoni get Bruce Bowen and Dennis Rodman out of retirement to play defense for him?
Because
that might be the only hope they have.
They're going to need something because with Curry, you're going to catch him on a bad night once in a while. And
he had a bad night last night.
And he had a bad night, so if you were going to take advantage of that, that was your window.
And rarely does he have bad nights back-to-back games.
And he's still coming back from that injury. So, I mean, I don't expect, honestly, right now, he's their 4th best player. And that's okay because when you've got, the thing that's scary is Durant can have a bad night and Curry can have a bad night, and most teams would be absolutely shuddering at the fact that.
They'd be mailing it in.
If Houston did that, if Paul and Harden had bad nights, they're dead in the water. But because you have guys like Draymond Green and you have Klay Thompson, who nobody talks about, and he'd be a star on any other team. I mean, he's that good of a shooter. I mean, he is a lights out shooter. He goes off. We've seen it happen. He's gone for 60 in games.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he can go off.
He can do it. He's the quiet 4th member of that team.
I give him a lot of credit because he kind of plays the Chris Bosh role, with the Miami teams, where he doesn't say anything. He knows his role. He's a good teammate. And the thing that Klay Thompson doesn't get enough credit for and nobody talks about, he's a very good defender.
Yeah.
He's a very good defender.
Well, I think that's one thing that Golden State does play is they play both sides of the ball. And they have a very strong 2 with Green and Thompson there that they can play defense and really shut down certain players and they can really slow down superstars. Right. That's the great thing about Golden State. I mean, The thing is about them, it's going to take near perfect effort to beat them.
Right.
Can teams do it? Yeah, we've seen it happen. Can this Houston team do it? That's debatable because we need to see something happen other than what happened in Game 1. But definitely, let us know your thoughts. Hashtag ODPH. We're going to take a quick break, talk about the Eastern Conference when we come back.
Hey, this is Brian Wolf from Fair City Fire. You are listening to ODPH, the greatest podcast in Binghamton.
Woo! Coming back for another segment on this week's ODPH, talking NBA basketball. We talked about the West. Now it's time to talk about the East. And Boston, Cleveland. Dan, what was your thoughts on Game 1?
Pretty disappointing if I'm a Cavs fan. You're thinking, well, I got a lot of rest. LeBron can rest up. He'll be ready to go. And he was off big time. And you won't find a bigger fan of LeBron than me. I love the guy. I think he's arguably the best player in NBA history, him and Jordan. And he was just not – he looked off all game. He didn't look right. Usually he does this in series. He'll feel his way out. And I think he even said that after the game. I like to feel things out and see where it goes. But to me, you kind of had Boston's number the last couple of years, and you kind of want to keep them down. And they're shorthanded. I mean, they're missing arguably their two best players, or haven't been hurt. Been hurt most of the year. So you kind of want to send a message. And when LeBron doesn't do it, this team's not going to win. I mean, he has to play perfect basketball, basically.
He does, and I think that's one thing that, as we've seen in years past with Cleveland, I mean, everything goes through LeBron. So if he's having a bad night, they're going to struggle. And Boston, I don't want to say they're playing with house money, but they kind of are, because if they lose, and we talked about this on last week's show too, if they lose, well, everybody's going to go, well, Hayward's out, Kyrie's out. If they win, oh, wow, LeBron had a bad team. Yeah, they're
treading the tires.
Well, I think everybody but
mileage.
Celtics fans would agree with you.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. I mean, and I agree. I would say that Boston has a great team, even without Irving and
Haywood.
Thank you. That they have enough to win because Brad Stevens has been doing a phenomenal job with the coaching.
Oh, he's been a stand-up phenomenal job, given the pieces he had and the pieces he's been missing.
I think I like Brad Stevens. He's a really, really good coach. He's great in college at Butler. I do think he's getting a little too much credit, though. I mean, he's good. He's really, really good. But people are acting like Boston doesn't have a lot of talent. They do still have talent. I mean, Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum are both top 3 picks the last 2 years.
Oh, they still have talent, but I think for him to pull it together, especially because you've seen with other teams, when the star player goes out, they all fall apart. Stevens has kept that ship afloat and sailing like almost without skipping a beat.
Right.
But they do have a lot of talent, but it takes a coach to bring it all together.
He does mold things really well. I mean, he's one of those guys, like if you watch his out of bounds plays and end game situations, I judge a coach not by what a guy does in the first 35, 40 minutes. What are you going to do in pressure situations? What plays are you going to draw up? And he's very creative. I mean, he's very, very creative. You watch in the Philly series, he won them 2 games by end of game situations.
Yep.
Just the way he drew stuff up, who he got the ball to. And I'll give Al Horford's the other guy I'd give a lot of credit to, because he's taken the team on his shoulders. He really has. He's you could tell he's kind of the leader of that team.
Oh, yeah.
When the game's on the line, he's kind of him and Rozier are the 2 guys that really want the ball. And, they've done a really good job. It's kind of scary to think what Boston could be if everybody stays healthy over the next, couple of years, obviously, because, Jaylen Brown's only going to get better. Jason Tatum's only going to get better.
Oh, yeah.
Brown's more of the athletic kid. Tatum's just a scorer. He kind of reminds me a lot of Carmelo Anthony. He's just not as selfish. And then you've got Rozier's a really good player who's developed.
Yeah, he's really developed.
A lot of people when he was drafted were like, "What are you guys doing, taking him in the middle of the first round?" He's not that kind of player. Well, he's proven everybody wrong by turning himself into that. And I wouldn't be surprised they make a run in the offseason, but they are playing with house money. Because I know I said this last time I was on the podcast that I'm going to stop betting against Boston. I changed my mind. I'm still going to take Cleveland.
I mean, to be fair, I said the same thing about in Cleveland's case that I counted them out when they were losing against the Pacers. I counted them out when they were losing against the Raptors, and I got burnt twice. I wasn't going to bet against Cleveland, and I said Cleveland, and Cleveland got blown out by like 40.
Right.
Well, that was the thing. When they opened up that half, the first half there, they looked sloppy. They looked just timing was off everywhere. Like I don't care where they were trying to set up. Kevin Love could not get a rhythm going at all.
Yeah, I was leaving work, and like I think it was just the second quarter was just starting. It was like Boston was up 20, and I was like, what? Because it was on as I was leaving work, and I was like, what? And then I went to go out for some Mother's Day festivities, and I got the notification on my phone at halftime that it was like 65-31 or 61-35, and I was like, what?
Yeah. It was
What the heck happened?
It was ugly early.
It was just ugly early, but Cleveland wasn't nailing shots. LeBron wasn't driving to the rim as much as he usually does. So I'm not sure, exactly what was going on. Maybe he was just kind of trying to do a little different take for the offense and see if his jumper could get working because Morris was playing very good defense on him.
He was, but he made some comments that he's going to be the LeBron stopper and stuff like that. Like, come on, dude, stop.
And you know what's going to happen when you make comments like that to a player like LeBron. They're going to make it their mission.
Mark my words tonight. Whether they win or lose, LeBron's going off tonight.
Yeah, he's going to. He might drop 60 tonight.
Put him down for about 38, 12, and 8 tonight. Like he's going to have one of those games, and to be honest with you, he has to. He has to because they can't. Like Kevin Love is a nice player if he's your third or fourth option.
Yeah, but
he's not a number 2 anymore. He's just not, and they don't have. If you look at this Cleveland team, we've talked about this in the past.
Mm-hmm.
This is not the most talented team he's played on.
Nope.
And to be honest with you, Boston has more talent. Nobody wants to hear this. Boston actually has more talent on the entire roster. They just don't have a LeBron.
No,
they don't have a superstar on the team right now.
Right.
I mean, they do have some stars.
They got some guys that I think could
They have
become
potential.
Those.
Yeah,
they're never going to have anybody that's a LeBron James on this team.
No.
Right,
but they've got a number of good players.
But they have a number of good players that all played well together, and they were making their shots when they needed to. They were driving to the rim, and it was almost reminded me of when Rondo was playing, and I can't remember the team, but it was during the Big Three era.
Yeah, when they had Ray Allen and Pierce and Garnett.
And the ball, I think they were facing, I want to say Orlando, and the ball got knocked all the way to half court, and Rondo ran halfway down the court and grabbed it.
It's Detroit.
Thank you. And he just fought for the ball, and that was right in the first quarter. This game one reminded me of that because that team was going for rebounds early and often. They were driving to the hoop. They were just so aggressive, and you could just tell the energy they were feeding off each other and they're feeding off the fans, that I don't think Cleveland had a good counterpunch for that on that night.
Well, you look at the team statistics, the rebounds are actually pretty close. Boston had 48, Cleveland had 40. The thing that shocks me more, and if I'm Tyronn Lue, head coach of the Cavaliers, where do you go to fix your issues from game one? Shooting better than 36% of the field would be my start.
Stop letting J.R. Smith chuck shots up.
Well, yeah, he's with him. You know what you're going to get. Either he's going to rain it all night, or he's going to miss completely.
I expect to see some lineup changes tonight. I heard that. I think there's a guy that nobody really knows who he is. Larry Nance Jr. is a guy.
I might have heard the name.
His dad's kind of famous. Is a guy I think that could provide quality minutes. This kid's not going to get you 20 points or anything like that, but he's athletic, and he's a guy that I think you could match up with Jaylen Brown and can stay with him a little bit. Because LeBron can't guard everybody defensively, and Tristan Thompson, you put him in.
This ain't the guard whoever defense,
right? And it's one of those things okay, well, who's going to guard Tatum? Well, LeBron can only guard either one or the other.
Yep.
They need somebody with some kind of athleticism that can stay with another. Larry Nance Jr. to me is a guy just from the defensive end. If he can take Brown out of his game a little bit, that's something that you're not going to think about from a strategy standpoint. But the problem that Cleveland's going to run into in this series too, and I know I just I didn't take a shot at Brad Stevens, but I kind of downplayed it. He is a great coach. He's 3 times the coach Tyronn Lue is. That's the problem for Cleveland.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. I mean, Stevens has been in these championship games before on the college level, and he knows how to manage the teams. Lue has done it with Cleveland, and he has also played in the finals when he was with LA.
Right.
So, I mean, he knows what to do, but Stevens has just shown on this track record that he just really knows his opponents very well.
The thing is, though, as Tyronn Lue, I would say, has it easier than Brad Stevens because Tyronn Lue has one of, if not, depending on who you ask, if not the greatest basketball player on the planet. in LeBron James. Whereas Brad Stevens has really got to like push the right button, plug into the right socket, and find the right formula. Tyronn Lue, yeah, he's got to do that, but to a certain degree, he always knows he has that backup emergency button on his side, and hey, LeBron, we need you to take over.
Well, LeBron takes a lot of pressure off coaches because he will just be the floor general himself and just call plays and do what he needs to.
You might argue he might put a lot of pressure on coaches because he gets some kind of. Tyronn Lue's really not the coach of this team. We're going to leave it at that.
Well, that's always it's a fan theory, right. but I mean that's always haunted LeBron since he was in Miami too. So. The point we're trying to say, though, is LeBron takes a lot of responsibility for how the team is, whether they win or they lose. It all goes through him.
He could go for 60 tonight and they'll lose, and somebody in the media will find a way to blame him for the loss. And that's the problem I have with the people that, if you don't like the guy because of decisions he's made or what he's done and the way that he's handled stuff, I'm fine with that. But just give the guy his props. Like when I was younger, I was not a big LeBron guy. I thought he was overhyped, overrated. I've come full circle with this guy. If you can't appreciate what he does on a basketball court, you're not a true basketball fan. You don't have to like the guy, but he's an all-timer.
Oh yeah, and I think if Coach Duffy were here, I mentioned the first thing I would say Cleveland needs to do to win tonight's game is shoot better than 36% from the field. And if Coach Duffy were here, I think the first thing he would say they need to do to improve the game is not give up 60 points in the paint.
Yeah, that was a huge thing too. I mean, Thompson.
I don't care what team you are. You could be the '92 Dream Team. If you give up 60 points in the paint, you ain't winning.
Yeah, Thompson was playing defense, but I mean, he needs help down there. I mean, that's the only thing.
He'll be on Horford more tonight. I think you'll see them because they tried to play Kevin Love at the 5. He's not a 5. He can't play.
He's
at the 5.
never been a 5.
I'll say this: anybody that going back to LeBron real quick, if you wouldn't take him on your team, you're lying.
Oh, you would take him.
You'd take him on your team in a heartbeat.
I mean, I'll be the first one to tell you when he went to Miami and how he went. Trust me, I was off the bandwagon. And I was pretty mad. My late father, God rest his soul, has always been Cleveland everything.
Right.
So obviously, seeing that happen, it was not the best look. And but I would say this: LeBron didn't have to come back to Cleveland. We've talked about this on shows.
Oh yeah,
he came back and he wanted to win a chip for the city,
and he did.
So his legacy.
Anything else is bonus.
Yeah, anything else is bonus. So whatever happens on here, and then pending what happens with the draft lottery tonight, it's all circumstantial at this point.
I want him. Like I love anybody that knows me. I love the city of Cleveland. Okay, I'm not a fan of all the sports teams. I'm an Indians fan, but I love the city of Cleveland. I would love for him to stay because I think it's just a great story. He's from there. He won the first championship in that city in forever.
50 some odd years, if I remember
so
right.
Long. I mean, the Indians have won since 1948, so the Browns have never won. So it's a great story. But he's about legacy. He wants to win titles, and I don't blame him. If he were to leave now, if you're a Cavs fan, you could be upset, and that's fine. But he got you a championship.
If he leaves, they would be upset, but I don't think
it won't be the same.
It wouldn't be as mad as they were when the decision went down.
Well, look at the team that's around him.
That's the key point I was going to say. If he decided to leave, the Cleveland fans should say thank you first.
And quite honestly.
And then you go from there.
And look who he's playing for. Dan Gilbert's not a good owner.
Well, that's the thing. I think for him to stay put, and I think it all is going to hinge on how this series goes and then if they get to the next round too. And I think there's going to be a lot of factors going in. But getting back to the series, though, if they get bounced, like let's say they get swept in 4, I think that either they're going to have to make a lot of changes to keep him,
he's gone.
Or he's as good as gone as possible.
Unless they win the draft lottery tonight.
Yeah, which
that might have more impact, quite honestly, tonight than what happens in this series.
Yeah, because Cleveland does have
they're right now they're slotted 8th. They have a 10% chance to get into the top 3. If they can get a top 3 pick, and it's not about the player, they could parlay that into somebody else.
So you're saying there's a chance.
Cleveland has pretty good luck in the lottery.
But that's the thing too. I mean, there's going to be a lot of factors that happen, but the next game, LeBron has to definitely step it up, and with his team, that is. He is doing all he can do. But the rest of the team needs to really step it up. And for the future of the franchise, like I said, if they get swept, that's going to be a telling sign.
They're not. I don't
think they get swept.
I don't think they get swept tonight. I wouldn't be surprised, to be honest with you, if they lost tonight. It wouldn't surprise me, and I still wouldn't count them out completely. How they play tonight is more of dictation for me than if they win or lose. If they come out flat, then I'd be worried.
Yeah, if they come out and they get down by another 30 in the first half.
Let's say they lose by like 5 or a buzzer beater or something tonight. I wouldn't be that worried about it. Like, yeah, all right, you're down 0-2. It's big, but you're going back home.
Yeah.
And then get right back in the series. If they get blown out tonight, then I'm worried. If I'm a Cavs fan, I'm like, ooh, this isn't good.
Oh yeah, then it'll be time to panic.
Yeah, without a doubt. It's going to be a very interesting game tonight. I'll be watching just because. Will it be a repeat of Game 1, or will you just see LeBron turn it on and be, the amazing, end of game shot hitting LeBron that, there it is. There's the confirmation. There's the validation.
I think, honestly, I'm going to tell you right now, and this is going to be in, you guys can read listen to this tonight, and this is done before the game. I think LeBron goes off tonight. I think Cleveland wins a very, very close game, and he's going off tonight. 38, 40, 45, somewhere in that range. He's going to triple-double type numbers. He's going to go off tonight.
I'll say there's only one guarantee with this game, and that's LeBron's photogenic memory is going to be absurd.
Yeah, he definitely.
If you haven't seen that clip, look it up. It's insane.
I was just going to say, if you have not seen the post presser when he gives the exact recount of, I think the entire game.
I'll say I almost want to, if I had the ability, I almost want to go up to him and be like, yeah, were you reading from a script when you were doing that, or is that just really off the top of your head?
No.
He's a basketball savant.
His basketball IQ is just.
We've never. I'll be honest with you. I don't think we've ever seen a player with his IQ. I'm not saying there haven't been more talented guys, but his IQ
for basketball is
off the charts. The stuff he sees.
It's crazy. And to see tonight, like I said, I think he's going to go off too. I'll say he'll go as high as 60, but I'll say realistically 45.
Marcus Morris, watch out, buddy.
Yeah, and I think he is going to. I think Morris is.
What's the record? The playoffs for most points in a game? Yeah, it'll get near it.
I'm just saying, Morris may have been off more than he could shoot tonight.
Jordan went for 63 in the Garden in a playoff game. So I don't think he's going to do that because
it'll be in the neighborhood.
The difference is LeBron can affect the game in more ways than just scoring, and that's not that Jordan didn't, but LeBron is a far superior passer. So that's where he can, he might go for 45 and have 10 assists, and it's like, okay, that's really like going almost for 60.
Yeah, I mean that's going to be a true telling sign to see. But tonight's game is going to be definitely telling in a lot of ways for the future of the Cavs. Because, like I say, if they get blown out, it's going to be a short series, and then what happens for that offseason is going to be something to watch. But like we said, let us know what you think. Hashtag ODPH. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Hi, this is Mike C. from I Am Horror. You're listening to the ODPH, the most killer podcast on the planet.
Coming back for the third segment on this week's ODPH, and there was a groundbreaking legal decision made by the U.S. Supreme Court. Now, you're probably going, why are you talking about legal issues on a sports podcast? Great question. Here's the answer. The U.S. Supreme Court has now made it legal for states to allow legal sports betting. This is huge because this has always been a very taboo subject involving sports. There's been many... I don't want to say...
There's been a stigma about it.
Thank you. That's probably the nicest
stigma
word.
about it.
I mean, you can go anywhere. If you ever watched the movie 8 Men Out, I think it's a
fantastic movie.
Prime example for baseball, but all through sports, there's been... The word gambling has not had the best relationship with it.
I would say if you want a good idea of why there's a stigma about betting on sports, 8 Men Out's probably a good source material to catch up on.
That's a good one. And then most recently, you got Tim Donaghy, the former NBA ref who was claiming he was, gambling on games.
Yeah, and even Pete Rose too. It's just there's been an unfortunate side to gambling and sports that really takes away from the integrity of games. That it will always be in the back of your head that anytime the gambling is involved, is a game fixed.
I'm curious to see, being a football guy with the NFL, because they're the one league. I give Adam Silver a lot of credit in the NBA because he's embraced it. He hasn't shied away from it. He's embraced it. He's wanted this. Whereas baseball's been quiet about it, which that's baseball's kind of stance. But the NFL's the one that's always been kind of like distancing itself from it. And they've come out and they want to do it their way. So I'm curious to see how they handle it. But if you're a sports fan, this is a good thing. I don't think this is a bad thing, and I'm indifferent on it. I'm not a big gambler. But I think this is a good thing for sports because it's going to get more of your low-key fans into more sporting events. It's not going to take away from it. I think it enhances it.
I think it's going to be something to watch. I don't really have a strong take either way, other than I'm very shocked by this, because I know for the longest time, and like I've already said, you've had situations in the past that have really cast doubt on the integrity of the game.
Yeah.
As long as it's not affecting the game and the integrity is kept intact, I have no issue with this. It's going to be something if it comes out in years, hypothetically, that there's game fixing going on. Then that's where you have the issues come about with this.
But can we say this honestly, though? Do we really know what affects games and what
No.
doesn't?
No, I don't.
Right.
So
Yeah.
nothing. I mean, it could still be the same 20 years from now, and we wouldn't know. I mean, we're not behind the scenes on stuff, and I'm not saying that this happens, but hypothetically, if there's game fixing going on now, what's going to change it 20 years from now?
And that's the key point.
No, yeah, I mean, that's something the states are definitely going to have to when they go to set up, the laws, rules, regulations, whatever it is. That's something that they're going to have to take into factor and figure out when it comes to this thing, because it's definitely going to be in the back of their minds. I mean, we've referenced it, 8 men out, anything else. That's going to get brought up is how do we do this and keep the integrity of the game, that if you're watching a Yankees Red Sox, if you're watching a Giants Eagles, if you're watching, the Lakers Clippers, how do you know that it is a legit outcome and it wasn't fixed in some way?
Well, I think you got to look at it too. Like, the biggest winner in this outside of fans is the states.
Oh, yeah.
Because they're going to make a lot of money off this. And all they have to do, from the legality standpoint, is like, all right, what's the fee on it? Because that's where they're going to make their money. Every time you bet, if there's a fee on it, that's where they're going to make their money. They're not going to make anything off of the bets themselves. It's the legalization fee. So the biggest winner in this is the states, because it's money, it's income, it's revenue for states.
Yeah, Ken told me this when the news broke, and I think the first thing I said to him is, New York is going to get this done so fast your head is going to spin. Because there's a little
Jersey.
Jersey will.
Well, the reason I say New York's going to get this done so fast your head is going to spin is because there's a little horse race coming in 3 weeks that you might have heard of called the Belmont Stakes.
Yeah.
Well,
That's in 3 weeks. Oh, boy.
I don't know if they can get it done that quickly.
It's going to be tough.
With the right motivation, you'd be surprised.
Well, no, it definitely will be, because I think this can be a very positive situation for states and businesses. I mean, gambling does happen on sports. I mean, I go out to Vegas quite often. When you go out to Vegas, the sports books are there. It's a great time as a fan, as long as you're betting in moderation and you're not, betting the rent check, so to speak.
Yeah.
Disposable income is a beautiful thing.
Yeah, when you can do that, it's a great thing. But you also just need to be wary of, it gives you more incentive to be involved in a game. And I think this is why you see, especially around Final Four time, there's so many brackets online that everybody gets in. It's always a contest, and it gives more incentive for the non-fan to be involved.
I'll say, I think the first thing that comes to my mind when it comes to some of the more obscure, not really mainstream betting things is some of the weird bets when it comes to the Super Bowl. How long is the national anthem going to be? Is there going to be some sort of issue in the halftime show?
How's the coin going to get flipped?
Where's the ball? What's going to happen with the football? Is it going to go to the left side of the field or the right side of the field? Is it going to be a touchback? Is it going to be a kickoff return? Just some of the weird stuff with it.
Yeah, and it's always been just such a touchy subject involving sports. That now, especially because that you can, if you go out to Las Vegas, which I recommend everybody, if you get the chance to do once in your life, do, because as a sports fan, when you go into a sports book, it is just a one of a kind experience that you'll see. And like I say, as Pat was saying, you can bet on pretty much any coin flips, national anthem. I mean, depending on what it is, the Super Bowl is always the biggest one of the year.
The first thing I actually thought of when I saw this break yesterday was I had a friend of mine during the tournament. He's not a basketball guy at all. And he came to me and asked me, he goes, I want your opinion. And he goes, if you're wrong, you're wrong. If you're right, you're right. Cool. Who do you think's going to win the tournament? And I told him Villanova. I got lucky enough where I was right.
Sure.
I mean, it doesn't always happen. It's just it's luck of the draw. But he put money down on them. He won a lot of money off of them. And it's the first thing I thought of when I heard this break, because that's who this is geared towards. It's geared towards the people that don't usually care, but when you put money down on something, you're automatically going to care more about it than you did before.
It's geared towards the guy, and you telling that story brought up my memory. There was a guy who, before the tournament started, bet like $100 or something like that on Michigan to win.
Right.
And it was when the odds were large enough that his payout was going to be rather large.
Right. I mean, and they almost got it done.
Oh, yeah.
It came close. I mean, it's...
I mean, it's going to benefit a lot of things, but I think the biggest benefit for a sports fan is you're going to get more non-sports fans involved.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing you just really need to watch with that is just if you've not gambled before, you just need to gamble in your means.
Yeah, don't spend what you can't afford to lose.
Yeah.
It's like the thing I've heard, this can be said for multiple money-related things. Don't be afraid to bet more than you're willing to lose.
Yeah.
I would, if you're just getting into gambling or getting into small increment stuff, I highly, the way to go, in my opinion, and Ken, I know you've looked into this before, when you used to go out there and you still do. I love the over-unders, like NFL over-unders, like, because right now you can get great values on team wins because they'll give you the, last year the Rams were like 5.5 wins.
Mm-hmm.
And if you think your team's improved a lot, all right, that looks good on paper. And that's the way to get good value. And you can find good rates where you don't have to. It's not like you have to throw down your kids' college fund down on it.
No, because like we say, I mean, the thing about gambling, it should be fun and it should be handled in moderation. That's one thing I always stress with people because everybody sees movies where people are betting absorbent amounts of money. And you know what the thing is? Movies never really show you lose and what happens after you lose, which is you have no money.
Not everything is casino. Okay?
Exactly. So that being said, I think if it's going to draw in more fans, it's going to draw in more revenue for states. And I see it being a positive thing as long as it all comes back to this point. The integrity of the game is not tampered with.
Right.
And I think that has been always one fear of sports leagues. I think that's an honest statement.
Well, and understandably so.
I think it's the diehard fans. I mean, it worries me. I'm a diehard sports fan. It is a concern. It is something you think about because you wonder, like, what's the product? What is it being affected? And my honest opinion is I don't think it is. But you never want to have that feeling where you wonder, where you're really thinking about it and kind of like going, all right, is this on the up and up?
Yeah, because unfortunately there's been instances where, as the proverbial saying goes, one bad apple spoils the whole bunch.
Absolutely.
So when you hear about one incident happening in your sport, and it's devastating.
Well, and that's what you said. Like, and I'm not going to bring up go back to Tim Donaghy, but Tim Donaghy, as a Phoenix Suns fan, he mentioned the Suns Spurs series, the Western Conference Finals, and he made comments, and it was just like, do I think he was full of it? Yeah, I do. I don't think a lot of it was real. I think he was just making up stuff. But as a fan, you start to think, well, what if this went this way and this went that way? And maybe, and that's when you start thinking. That's when the integrity does get taken away a little bit.
Yeah, and anytime that happens, that's like the biggest takeaway from it.
And I think this is just me hypotheticals, I think this all goes away if you have one instance where the integrity of the game is broken, where money was an influence on the outcome of a game in the right circumstance for like a big enough game, this all goes away.
I agree.
If this happens in, say, the Super Bowl or the Olympics or something of like that caliber, done, gone.
And if you're going to fix a game, I don't think people realize it'd be really hard. Could you shave things like point shaving, stuff like that? Yeah, that happens. That's happened before.
Sure.
But to fix a game, you have to get like 3 sides. Everybody has to be involved. It's very hard to do.
Yeah, not that we have any knowledge of it,
Right,
but
I'm
just to clarify.
Right, I'm not saying this happens, but like for that to happen.
Yeah, no, but just the one thing I just don't want to see, and this is just me, like I say, we are just 3 fans talking sports and just the ramifications of this, because as we have grown up in it, I mean, sports betting is something that happens. Now it's a legal situation. As long as it's not taking away and we don't have to sit there after, coming out of a game and the first thing is not, oh, man, my team losses. Oh, this was fixed.
Right.
Because it's going to be a running joke with people, though.
It's going to be the running joke as soon as this happens.
What's the first thing you see, though, when your team loses a big game? And if you're a fan of a team, I mean, I've said it when I was younger. I mean, because you're...
Oh, yeah, sure.
Oh, that was rigged. They weren't supposed to win. And you say it tongue-in-cheek.
Yeah, but now when you say it, it's like it's going to take a whole nother
Right.
meaning, which it shouldn't, because, like you say, to have widespread fixing of games and that nonsense, I don't see that happening. And I think with the leagues now agreeing to let this happen, with their sports, unless a league comes out and says you can't bet on our games, right, I think is a telling point. But as long as it all comes back to this statement, and I know I've said this a few times already, as long as the integrity of the sport is kept intact,
right,
It'll be okay.
And I just want to clarify, I do not think games are fixed. I was just throwing out an analogy of that.
Yes.
I don't think it's happening. So I just want to clarify that was not where I was going with
Yeah, and
that.
as we record, no league, NFL, NHL, NBA, or Major League Baseball has come out against this. The only thing I've heard is I believe the NFL has said that they're working closely with the various state legislators.
I believe the first league that will be all in on this will be the NBA.
I agree too.
Probably.
Because they've been in the forefront in the past.
Yeah.
So to me, that they've been the biggest supporters of this. I think they'll be the first one. I could be wrong on that, but I believe they'll be the first one that really gears this, and it's their year right now. They probably want this NBA Finals coming up. They probably want that. Not saying it's going to happen that quick, but
like I say, if the one point of this is going to be the plus is it's going to draw in novice fans that maybe know about a team because somebody they know wears a jersey. This is going to make them pay attention to games. Now, is it going to be a widespread thing and we're going to get millions of new fans? I don't think so. But
I think we all know a person that when the Super Bowl comes up or the NBA Finals or whatever, that like if you go up to them and you're like, hey, you want to throw a $5 down on the who's going to win the Super Bowl? I think we all know at least one or a couple people who'd be like, oh yeah, sure, why not?
But I think that's going to be something now that's going to be taken a whole different level because Super Bowl Sunday is always a crazy time if you've ever been out in Vegas for it.
that's probably the second best day to go out to Vegas outside of the beginning of the tournament. Those are probably the two best days.
Any day. You can
any day is a good day.
Any day is a good day, but we don't discuss that on air. But my point going, but you're hitting the points right on the nose. That if it's always a big sporting event and going out there and just watching how many people are involved in this, that says enough that it's going to be a positive effect. And like we said, as long as the integrity of the game is not tampered with, it should be a positive.
It's a beautiful day to be a sports fan.
It is a beautiful day, but like I say, you just need to do it in moderation, and you just remember not everything is Hollywood.
Yep.
And when you lose, you lose.
Yep.
So
don't mortgage your future by betting what you can't afford to bet.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So we want to know what you think, though. Hashtag ODPH, because this is definitely one of our more, I would say, unusual topics to be talking about because we don't ever talk legal.
And we've only gotten to the beginning of this. We haven't even seen the forefront of this because this could change over the next months.
This isn't a story that is going to be done and over with.
I'm curious to see how every state handles this.
Yes,
because I do think there are states like we mentioned, New Jersey, New York, that are.
There's going to be some that drag their heels on
right,
this.
and it's the states that probably don't care. But the big states, I think, where sports are popular, I think those states are going to be all in on getting this done.
It's going to be the states that you hear they got it done. You're like, okay, yeah, saw that coming.
It's going to be something to watch, but we definitely want to know what you think. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Hey, I'm Mike Pappy from Rye Bread, and you're listening to the ODPH.
Coming back with a local minute on this week's edition of the ODPH. Pad, what you got?
So, a little bit of Rumble Ponies news. Of course, they are in town this week. They're playing Erie yesterday and today. And then they're out on the road against New Hampshire. They're playing Thursday. Friday is a doubleheader. Saturday with New Hampshire. And then they come back home next week with a game on Tuesday. Looking at the standings, they are currently sitting in fourth place, 18-17 record, 4.5 games out, still in it.
Timothy Richard hit a bomb yesterday, didn't he?
Yes, he did. Yes, he did. Shout out to Tim Tebow.
That's my boy.
I heard that. Hey, good for him.
Go Gators.
Exactly. As long as the weather is warming up, I think so is the Ponies too. And definitely can't wait to get down to the stadium very, very soon.
I actually have to get to a game. I have not gone yet. I need to get there.
You need to.
Oh, yeah.
We all do.
Yeah.
And if you're listening and you have the ability to, BingRP.com for ticket information.
Go support Timothy Richard.
Yes.
Absolutely. So let's start rounding those bases, and I'm actually going to lead off this week because, as we mentioned on last week's episode, UFC 224 came and went. Mm-hmm. Definitely an interesting card, And I think of the fights that we are highlighting, Lyoto Machida beat Vitor Belfort, and dare I say he out Anderson Silva.
Yeah, and I gotta give a shout out to Lyoto Machida for the respect he showed Vitor at the end of that fight.
He hit him with the hardest crane kick I think I've ever seen this side of the Karate Kid movies.
Yeah, and then he stood there very politely, very respectfully. I believe he got down on his knees. Not in a praying way. Just
a respectful way.
Respectful way. I'm not the biggest Lyoto Machida fan, but I don't hate the guy. But he gained a little bit of respect in my books for that.
And Vitor is now going into retirement, so we wish him well. And I'm sure he's going to be coaching somewhere. He'll still be involved in the sport as we go, but
you might see him pop up on a card every now and then in somebody's corner.
Yeah, but Machida definitely, he nailed him with one of the hardest shots, and I just was like, oh my gosh. Ouch. But hey, he did the win, and I know he called out Bisping. I don't know if they're going to make that fight or not, but we'll have to see as it goes on. The other two fights that happened, Kelvin Gastelum won via decision over Jacare, which was very back and forth from what I read. And from what I've seen the footage too as well, that it was definitely back and forth, so it depends. Kelvin definitely got a huge win. Where this puts him now, I don't know, going forward in the 185 division. But anything is possible, and if you could get a top contender, I think that'll only help him. And in the main event, Amanda Nunes against Raquel Pennington. Nunes won TKO in the 5th round, and I think that there was a bit of controversy about this because at the end of the 4th round, Pennington apparently was saying to her corner that she had enough and she didn't want to go on, and the corner kind of did not listen to her. Mm-hmm. And I guess let me ask the panel, what was your thoughts on that?
It raised some eyebrows on my part because if true, it kind of paints a, are you really looking out for your fighters' well-being, health? But of course, I'm saying this as a fan who's never set foot in the octagon, let alone thrown a punch or been in an MMA match. So what do I know?
I think, if you have a chance to win a championship at any level, you're going to do whatever you got to do. So I can see both sides of it. Definitely, if that did really happen, it does raise an eyebrow about it. But
it raises an eyebrow, but I'm wondering if it was more so the coach's perspective, and this is only my fan speculation, is that they thought that Pennington could go back out there and win the fight and knew this was a title shot and leave it all in the cage. That you don't want to go out saying that you couldn't handle, that you were not being able to handle and finish the fight.
How often are you going to win one?
Well, that's the truth. When you get in those title fights, it's all or nothing. And I know Pennington has came out and has supported her coaching staff and saying that she was very supportive, that she appreciated their support of her going into the fight. So I think it was maybe more done as that she felt like she was breaking, and the coaches were trying to, really boost her spirits and get her back for that 5th round because you never know what could happen. So
there's a few things in life are guaranteed. More than one championship opportunity is not one of them.
And she might have knocked her out. You never know. And that might be where the coach is like, hey, this is like we talked about. This might be your one and only chance.
Yeah.
And if it does come out that they did know, all right, it does look bad, but
yeah. But like I said, Pennington came out with support to, supporting the coach's decision. She was really proud of her coaches, and it's just one of the things that she trusted their judgment, that if they felt that she could have gone on, that she jumped with them.
And if she wasn't comfortable with it, she wouldn't have gone out there.
Yeah, I think that's too. I think just especially in that fight that it's to go through one of those battles is you have to have something inside you that just really drives you.
Absolutely.
And it's that your coaches know that you got it in you. They just want to get the best out of you, and that's what, at least the way I'm interpreting it. Yeah. And reading what Pennington has said post fight, that. Then I think that's what they're going with, and maybe it got a little miscommunicated. But if she couldn't have gone, then I think she should have just stayed in the corner and just been just tapped out herself.
Right.
If that was the case.
Yeah.
All right, Dan, what you got for your base?
Well, tonight is one of the more intriguing nights if you're a non-playoff NBA fan. You got the draft lottery tonight, so it's not top heavy with a lot of really quality name teams. Obviously, the 4 teams with the best chances of getting the pick are the Phoenix Suns, the Memphis Grizzlies, Dallas Mavericks, and Atlanta Hawks. And there's a little bit of a change this year to the lottery. It hasn't completely changed like it will next year, but the Suns can't pick lower than 4th.
Okay.
So they can't drop out of the top 4, where in the past you could drop.
Well, so I remember that a few years where there was more intrigue than normal for who was going to get the number 1 overall pick. And I remember watching and going, oh, this one team, a team would have, a huge % chance to get the number 1 overall draft pick. And all of a sudden they're drafting 9th.
Now, the thing is, though, and I'm a Suns fan, so, and I know right now they're not going to get the number 1 pick because nothing nice happens to the Phoenix Suns. So, the thing is, though, they have actually a better chance of picking 4th than they do picking 1st.
Interesting.
It's a 25% chance to pick 1st. I believe it's somewhere in the 20s to pick 2nd. It's 17 to pick 3rd, and it's 35% to pick 4th. As a Suns fan, I'm gonna go on a limb and tell you guys right now. My prediction is the Dallas Mavericks will get the pick tonight.
Wow.
Interesting.
I believe the Grizzlies will pick 2nd, and I think my Suns are going to be left in the cold at 3rd. In this draft, it's not a bad one to be picking in the top 3 because, in my opinion, DeAndre Ayton's the guy that you want. Luka Doncic, who's a Slovenian kid who is. Watch him shoot. It's really fun to watch him play basketball. And then you got Marvin Bagley from Duke would be the 3.
Yeah.
But there is a little intrigue if the Suns were to get the pick. From my vantage point, the guy the Suns just hired, Igor Kokoshkov.
Gesundheit.
Yeah, exactly. I've been working on that all day. Actually coached Luka Doncic on the Slovenian national team. Okay. So there is some intrigue in Phoenix where they're like, oh, everybody thinks DeAndre Ayton will be the pick, but there's history with Doncic. So he's a lot like Devin Booker. So that could be interesting from a standpoint. But it's going to be interesting tonight. And we talked about this earlier. The Cavs have a lot riding on the line tonight. They're picking 8th. If they can bump up, that might help keep LeBron in town.
Yep.
But you're also looking, the Bulls and the Magic are teams that are in the 5-6 spots. The Knicks are in the 9th spot. So anything can happen. It's very unlikely that things will change, but I will be ecstatic because, the Suns need something good to go their way. It's been a rough past 7-8 years. Either way, it's an exciting night because it can change a franchise. But the last time, but I do have a stat real quick before I move it on. The last time the 1st and 2nd pick were both named all NBA teams, 1992, Shaq and Alonzo Mourning.
Ooh.
So usually the team picking 1st or 2nd, one of them makes a mistake. And, we have the Greg Oden, Kevin Durant stuff,
You say the list goes on, much like the NFL.
Hakeem Olajuwon, Sam Bowie, Jordan was 3rd. So there's usually a team in the 1st or 2nd makes a mistake. It's very rare that both the top 2 guys pan out. So that's to keep your eye on, but obviously we'll have more after. We'll see what happens with this tonight.
The draft always has a lot of history behind it, a lot of fan theories, and then some. So it'll be something to watch, and definitely, as a Knicks fan, I'm hoping we somehow get number 1. I don't think it's going to happen, but hey, I can dream.
You got the Fizdale magic.
So you're telling me there's a chance.
There's a chance. Pat, what you got?
Well, a little bit of interesting news came out. It's almost entertainment related in a way. Interesting documentary got announced in a partnership with ESPN 30 for 30 and Netflix. They're working on a Michael Jordan documentary. Now, why?
Nice.
Now, why is this interesting per se? One, it's Michael Jordan, who is one of, if not the best NBA player in history. But it's going to be not just a simple hour, 2 hours, 10 hours with more than 500 hours of unseen photos and footage, and I just can't wait.
I can't. That's got to be exciting because we all know how the competitor Michael Jordan was.
Yeah,
the behind the scenes with him.
Oh yeah,
there's got to be some intense moments.
I just get the feeling that there's going to be some behind the scenes stuff that hasn't seen the light of day since it was filmed.
Right, and you got to wonder. Does he have any say in this?
I would imagine so, or this doesn't happen.
There'd be no way this would go on without his.
So he'll be protected in a little bit, but this is one of the best athletes of all time.
Yeah,
not just generation, or he's one of the best athletes ever.
Yeah,
and I was never a Bulls fan. I respect the heck out of Michael Jordan.
Oh yeah,
same here as a Knicks fan. Right, he crushed me every year. But
1993 Phoenix Suns. Okay, him and Paxson, but it's one of those things. Like as a sports fan,
you respect that.
Oh yeah, it's an all timer.
10 hours. You got to figure this will probably encompass his entire career from college all the way through NBA.
We can leave the Wizards part out of it, can't we?
Yes.
One would hope. But this for for a lot of people is going to be interesting because in this digital age where everything's on the internet, everything's digital. It's hard to, other than the key well-known Jordan moments. I think it's really hard and really kind of obscure to find some Jordan stuff you haven't seen.
It definitely is in this day and age of digital media. So whatever they have on Netflix, they're going to make an amazing product with.
Oh yeah.
So as a sports fan, I'm excited to watch it for 10 hours. I'm definitely going to be glued to my binging.
And he's very private too. So
Yeah.
for him to let this out is
Yeah.
kind of it's a little surprising because I mean he's an owner now.
Yeah.
Yep.
But he's always been kind of a private guy.
He's never really been in the public eye that much.
Right. He's not like he's got the sneakers and everything else, but the Gatorade commercials, but he's been very in the background with stuff. So it is surprising. It's great as a fan. It's awesome.
Yeah, and
Oh,
It
yeah.
is a little surprising.
it is, but I'm definitely, it's going to be something to watch when it comes out in 2019, I believe.
Yeah, I believe so.
So going to have to wait a little while for it, but it's going to be worth it. And let me close out with a little NHL news because it is still Stanley Cup playoff time. And dare I say, it pains me every week the Rangers are not in it. We still need to cover it.
Nothing wrong with that. Ovechkin's still in it, man.
That's what I'm saying. They're up 2-0 in their series against Tampa Bay, which Ovechkin is playing lights out right now. I'm telling you, as we go to tape, they're going to be playing tonight on Tuesday.
They can't blow this series, right? Like they've gotten this far. Like how?
All I'm going to say is I thought the same thing in 2004 with a certain baseball playoff.
Yeah, but you know what? To me, it's almost like if you're a Capitals fan, like. And I'm not the biggest hockey guy. I love Ovechkin. I'm happy as all get out for him because I want him to win a title. I'd be really, really happy if they won. But the fact that they beat Pittsburgh,
Yeah, that was the hugest moment.
Most Capital fans, if they don't win a title this year, that's almost like winning one for them.
I'll say the old saying is, you got the monkey off your back. I think in this case it'd be you got the gorilla off your back.
It's like once you break through. It is, and I know you guys are both Yankee fans, so you're gonna hate me for this, but it is kind of like the Boston theory without all the cursed stuff.
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
Once you break through your nemesis, it's almost like
It's
we can win
Peyton
this.
finally getting past Brady.
Right. I mean, it's just there's so many things to that, and personally, I said this a couple weeks ago. I'm cheering for them. I want Washington to win just because I love watching Ovechkin play. He is so talented. He is so fun to watch. I think it'd be great for the sport. Because he's probably outside of Crosby, he's the biggest name in the sport.
Oh yeah.
Arguably right now, yeah.
And Las Vegas is a great story, and so is Winnipeg, and and obviously Tampa's a good story. You can't go wrong. I mean,
No, playoff hockey is just fun to watch, period, no matter who you're rooting for. And for Ovechkin to get there, now he's embracing the spotlight, and now, I mean, they got through Pittsburgh, so it's kind of easy. I don't want to say easy sailing after this, but the big monkey that has been on their back, or
feels like the pressure's off.
yeah, is
You
just,
never want to take your foot off the gas.
Right, but it does
Yeah.
feel like the pressure's on. Like you're watching them play, they're loose, which is a good thing. They're not like in the past. You'd watch them play, and it's like you could watch them. They're uptight. It's like they're afraid to make a mistake.
Yeah,
now
and
it's
that's
like,
the
all
thing.
right, we're down 2-0. All right, no big deal.
The
Whatever.
cloud that is having yet to get past Crosby and the Penguins is lifted.
Yeah, and that's the thing. So now it's like they have the weight of the world off their shoulders. They can actually play hockey and have fun doing it. And they're definitely stepping into the spotlight, and they haven't had to slow down just yet. Tampa needs to win tonight because if they're going to 3-0,
they're
it's
done.
it's done.
Yeah.
And you
Okay,
gotta look at it too. Like once if you're a Washington fan, player, whoever, supporter, you wanted to beat Pittsburgh.
Oh, yeah.
You didn't want to avoid them. You wanted to beat them.
Well, I think that you've had the teams that have had enough talent, but you just come up short for whatever reason.
Right.
Say as
But-
we record, Washington is the current favorite by a -110.
I mean, it's going to be a tough game because I think the game's in Washington tonight too as well. So
They got to win. Tampa's got to win tonight.
Tampa has to win to make this a series.
It's
'cause-
hard to come back from 3-0. I know it's
Yeah.
happening.
Saying
but-
you know that crowd in Washington is going to be loud.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah, trust me. If they have the chance to get to the cup, yeah, that place is going to explode tonight. But it's
Oh
And-
yeah.
And it
The
added,
cheers.
added a little pressure on the Washington Nationals if the Capitals win.
well, you know what though? I think with the Capitals that they've been due,
Oh, yeah.
and I think for the DC area that I think they've been more of a hockey town than they've been baseball.
Right. But this is,
Yeah.
I mean, but you're looking at like the Nationals have been really good for a while.
Yeah. Sure.
And they choke. I mean, I don't like using that word, but they do choke.
Yeah.
And, if the Capitals can break through, there's a little bit extra pressure with Bryce Harper in his last year as a National.
I think it's a
break
lot. I
through
think
as
it's a
well.
lot of validation for the fans who have been diehard for so long and watching for so long and rooting for Ovechkin for God. How long has he been in the league?
It's been a while.
A
right?
long while.
10 years?
For being invested and rooting for him for this long. It's going to be validating for not just the team and ownership and Ovechkin, but for the fans that have been there and right there, because we all know as fans, you're as invested into the game and the outcome as much as the players are.
It's always nice to see somebody new win. I mean, as long as it's not your rival team that you cheer
Sure.
for.
Yeah.
But, it's always like a Washington. If you're not, I mean, I'm sure Pittsburgh fans don't want to see them win, but it's nice to see a Washington team win. It's nice to see teams that haven't been there and there's a drought or there's a story behind it. It is always nice to see that team win. So it's just one of those things that the way they're playing right now, they're going to be tough to beat.
They're definitely going to be tough to beat, and Tampa can do it, but they have a very tough climb ahead of them.
Nobody's talking about Las Vegas, though.
Vegas is one of these teams that is fundamentally sound to watch, and they don't really have like a superstar.
Right.
But they're fun to watch. They play solid. And, I mean, I know the series is now tied up 1-1 against Winnipeg. Right. Winnipeg is almost like the same way, though.
Nobody's talking about the West because it's like it's not the trendy name. It's not the
Oh no, it's for the traditional hockey fans. Yeah, you know who they are. I mean, Vegas has been a heck of a story. I mean, first year in the league and you're already in the conference finals.
Right, and they are literally playing with house money.
Yeah,
I mean, it's not even close. Like they don't have to do anything else. They could lose the next 3 games and lose the series. It's still a phenomenal year.
Yeah, like you often hear with teams like, "Oh, unless you win a championship, your season's a bust." Right. Vegas is anything but because. Nobody had him getting this far. Nobody had him making the playoffs.
No, it's just it's unheard of for an expansion team to do it in their first year. But Vegas, the one thing I've watched them all year, they play solid. There is nothing real flashy about them. You don't go and you don't see like the highlight reel goals.
Do they kind of remind you of the Kings teams a couple years ago that won titles?
A little bit.
Good goaltending. Don't beat yourself.
Yeah, they just play very sound.
Right. I mean, get quality goals when you need it. They don't. It's not flashy. It's not like that's hockey I want to watch. It's just fundamentally sound hockey.
And I think Fleury is playing with so much of a chip on his shoulder too that I think that's helping him. That I think when you have a goalie that's that motivated, that carries you. Because I mean,
he's a former number 1 pick.
I know
he's a former number 1 pick. He was good for.
Yeah, he did his thing in Pittsburgh, but now that he's out there, I think he's taking full advantage of it, and he's going to be tough to beat in the playoffs. Yeah. And I think now that. The pressure of Pittsburgh and the history there is behind him, and now he can just forge his new path with Vegas. I mean, who knows what's going to happen. He could become
a legend in Vegas.
Oh, yeah.
You imagine if they won a cup in the first year there?
That'd be insane.
But the crazy thing about that is I don't know if that would be a good thing because for new fans, it'd be like, oh, we're going to win every year. And
right, but you know what? You set an expectation. I'd rather have expectations as a fan than a team that's not going to do anything.
It's just something to watch. I mean, I'm not rooting against him by any means, so don't take that comment as I am. I'm just saying it's just going to be so weird that, if they do win their first year, that people are going to say, "Oh, well, that's what we should be doing every year." Well, you should be doing it every year as a team. You want to see your team win, but
you want your team to be competitive.
But when you go through those losing seasons, that's when you need to brace for impact and go.
I mean, coming from a guy whose professional teams have never won a championship, literally, I mean, you want your teams to be competitive every year and have a chance to win.
But the Winnipeg-Vegas series is a fun one to watch. So if you get the chance to, definitely do it. That's all we got for this week. So for Daniel John, thank you for coming back on the show.
Appreciate it, guys. Make sure you check out Rolling the Dice blog. We'll have some new articles up probably this week. Probably talk a little NBA playoffs because that's kind of the trendy thing going on right now. But definitely keep checking the blog out and hit us up. And you can always interact with me on Twitter at CardsFan1121. I'll always answer, good or bad. Shoot me a line and we'll talk sports.
He always does, folks. No matter what time of day, he will get up and will answer you.
2 o'clock in the morning, man. I'm still up.
Yeah, we've had a couple listeners do that, so shout out to you folks.
And I want to give a shout out to the Charger players who did read the blog when we did our little draft recap. Thanks for checking us out, guys. I am a big Charger supporter this year. I'm not just saying that because you guys checked it out. I do believe they are a Super Bowl contender.
Dare I say, we're going to be talking football a little later in the year. But, we talk about it all the time.
I had to give him a shout out.
You got to give him a shout out supporting the blog, definitely. So shout out to the Los Angeles Chargers for chiming in on rolling those dice. For Padawan J.
Interesting thing to keep track of, Yankees next 2 games against the Washington Nationals facing Gio Gonzalez and Max Scherzer.
Go Nats.
Good Lord.
It's going to be fun ones to watch. I am your host, Ken M. Thank you as always for listening to another edition of the Ocho Duro Parlay Hour. We'll see you next time.
But if